it's interesting because we talk a lot about your amateur career. I talked a couple times a week about it. And it's kind of funny. You went from no fights. We didn't have any fights. Couldn't find you anybody. And now you're fighting 4 times in 3 weeks or something like that?
It'll be, let me see, the triplet was Wednesday. Day before Thanksgiving. DC fight Saturday. So that's 3 days. 3 days, bang. And then the next week, this Saturday tonight, be number 3. And then another short week because Friday, next Friday the 10th, I'll be back in Youngstown for the 3rd and hopefully final rematch unless we come across each other in a national tournament against Triplet in his hometown in Youngstown. So
yeah,
that'll be 4 fights in less than 4 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. It's,
I wish I had that. You know?
Well, hopefully they've woken Triplet up. They've explained to him that you're coming on the 11th and that's you that he's going to fight. Maybe we'll see what he does. I mean, well, honestly, I would be begging for that fight again. You've seen it. Mm-hmm. Is that one that you'd be calling up and being like, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's just run that again 2 weeks. What do you think, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, to the guy's credit, he's monstrously fast. I mean, the first round isn't on the site, and we're going to keep it that way. Because that first round, I was
clever editing.
That first round, there were so many things against me. That was my first fight since June 12th to be exact, and I forgot just how fast and tall he was. And there's some things that all this training in the world can't prepare you for until you see it. And that speed and range combined with his skill, he was just picking me off at will until I settled down and was like, all right, here's what I need to do to close the distance off. Here's what I need to do to land shots. And yeah, this time around, I'll be right there. I won't need a round to figure that out. But he's still got tons of fights, mostly winning record. When we fought a year ago, he was like 28-4. I mean, the guys, I'm not taking a rematch lightly, especially. We'll be in Youngstown with his home crowd, and his coaching staff will be there. His default coaching staff wasn't there this time, and I don't know how much of a difference that makes, but I think it'll make a difference. It's something we're going to prepare for. It's something we're going to take into consideration. But in the end of the day, you know, it's still a fight, and I'm still light years better than I was a year ago, and I'll be even better than I was that night. You know, so.
And you're more of a dangerous guy than he is. He's a point fighter. He's long jabs. He's not going to hit you with anything that's going to put you down. What he does is he uses his range very well and lets you walk into things. And that's exactly how you lost the first fight. You walked into a jab. I mean,
not to mention, I mean,
well, let's go easy on your coaching because I had like 25% share on that.
The conditioning, the conditioning is so important now. I mean, there are. The conditioning workouts they have me on now with the timed running and the heavy bag burnouts and the 6 to 8 rounds of footwork, and now I'm doing it with the weighted vest. The not feeling tired, and more importantly, knowing what to do when I feel tired, to understand that that's not really an issue. You know, your body's just going, all right, we worked a little bit. We're still in this. There's no reason for you to let up. We're not letting up anytime soon. Well, once you get used to those things, you can continue to fight at your pace and not freak out. That was my 4th fight the last time we fought, and I just wasn't. That was the first time I've been pushed. I just wasn't used to feeling that exhaustion in the ring. And I was like, oh, I'm still here, and it's only the 2nd round. If you look at this fight, I came out firing again. I didn't feel exhausted, you know, and that makes a difference. I wish every fighter put as much time into their conditioning as they did into their training. They'd have an easier time of it. If for any other reason, then conditioning can carry you when you feel like your skill is not up to par. You can just go all out and maybe win the fight with some big punches. You don't look so bad to the judges.
Especially in boxing, because a lot of it's about perception. I mean, we've learned that. Does it really matter when you take the headgear off, and one guy, you know, they call the decision, okay, he won. You take the headgear off, one guy is perfectly handsome,
the other
guy's destroyed, and the destroyed guy gets the gets the nod.
And in boxing, that's compared to MMA. In boxing, you got the point system. At the very least, someone can sit and argue, so it's not subjective. In MMA, at the amateur and the pro level, that is all 10-point must. That is all judge's decision. And if you look beat, it doesn't matter how dominant you may have thought you were, whether you were on top. If you're just laying there and every time there's movement, I feel like that's how I lost my last MMA fight. I got to the third round and I just wasn't there. So whether that was a big debate in the local community whether I lost that fight or not. But the
That was
point
against
is,
Joe West, right?
yeah,
That's what I'm talking
the
about,
point is, I didn't look like I won, so why should they give it to me?
Yeah, I mean, and he, thinking back to that fight, I was in your corner for that one. You guys have a mutual degree of separation, too, with Josh Ewing, a mutual component there. But Joe West, I was really surprised how he came in as a straight wrestler. Right?
Yeah.
And
he didn't even bother standing up. He was like, we're just going to get right to the ground and get this thing rolling.
But you did a good job for never wrestling ever. You didn't have any wrestling, right? Wrestling. Stopped. This kid was, I don't know where he was ranked collegiately. That somebody probably knows that stat. I don't, but his takedowns and stuff were really sharp, and you were stuffing him. I mean, he had that look of like, oh shit, well. That was plan A, so I'm going to have to revert to plan A.
Credit to personal training tactics right there, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Donnie Caker gets you in
If there's
shape.
anybody that puts a game plan together, there's that guy right there.
Do you know anything about the guy you're fighting tonight?
Assuming our research is correct, and I say that because you never know. You never know. You get a few bit of variables, and you got to solve the rest of the equation. And on more than one occasion, I went looking for a guy based on what I knew, found him, studied him, get to the fight. Oh, he's turned into somebody else,
Yeah.
And it's not like he pulled at the last minute. We just weren't sure. But if it's the guy, this guy Cortez McCrae fights for the Navy in their collegiate boxing. He was in their finals. I was looking at him. I don't take anyone lightly, but I have faith in my conditioning and what I know, and everything's so much slower for me now at this point that I think I'm going to win. Obviously, I'm not going to go, well, this one's going to be a loss. You just chalk this one up. We'll wait till next time.
You know what? We might as well not even do it.
Let's just go up there, get the ice packs ready. No, I feel confident. I feel in shape. I feel like everything we've done, I'm going to continue to do. And I know my corner wants me to box it out, and we're going to try that. But any shot that opens up, I'm going to take it with full force and really continue to do what I've been doing, because that's working for me. It's working, and the skills now behind it are working. So when I see this guy, I'm sure it'll be a fight, but I don't see him lasting. And if he does last, I'll be in such good condition by the third round that based on what I've seen on the tape, I can't imagine him being in that conditioning, especially the way I want to push the pace and make sure that at least he's mentally worn down, if not physically as well.
Well, too, your conditioning it's an interesting point, because if you look at it, you're not a small guy. Nobody's going to say you're a small guy, but in the heavyweight spectrum, you're fighting unlimited. The guy you're fighting could be the biggest human being on the face of the planet, and he knows how to box. You could fight Valuev. I mean, you really could. That's the potential. Is you actually going to fight him? Probably not right now anyway, but you see what I mean? So, being the fact that you're coming in on the, let's say, on the whole scale of either being Valuev or being Tommy Morris or Chris Bird, you're probably in that lower end, right, size-wise. So, having the better conditioning plus the aggressive style and the mechanics, it's just going to be a little bit too much for these big. I think these big guys plan on hitting you once, having you go, oh, I didn't like that, so I'm just going to hang out here on the outside and hope that they can not do that again. Basically, that's what Triplett tried to do. Yeah. He walked into a couple jabs, you responded, and then he said, oh, this is working. Okay.
Yeah, we're here, and now it's, and it's something they don't tell us big guys, and this goes for you too, Mills. That is one of my secrets. If you read the blog, I figured out that what they don't tell us is we got to be in conditioning, right? You got to be able to go to rounds. What they don't tell you is that the more muscle you have, the more you need to condition, because muscle consumes so much more oxygen. Yeah. The little guys are in good condition because their lungs are probably roughly the same size. They're not going to be too much, but we're carrying around an extra 30, 40 pounds of muscle that needs energy. It's not like it's fat and it's just sitting there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the harder you push that, the more energy you'll use, the more oxygen you got to get taken, and the more The easier it is for you to cramp. Everything is, the more muscle you have, the more it's against you, and your conditioning has to be that much harder. And that's the lesson I finally figured out this year. Is it's not enough for me to just do the conditioning that everyone else does. I need to do a little more because I'm using more energy, pure and simple.
Yeah.
You know, you get your conditioning up, and people were looking at you. I had the trainer I went down to Philly with. I mean, not Philly. His name is Philly. The guy I went down to D.C. with, this trainer Philly, he said to me, if I was telling a guy to fight you and didn't know anything about you, I'd tell him you dance around him. He looks like he's going to be slow and lumbering, and his condition is going to give way. I mean, clearly that's not the case. That is not the fight I fight at all. But that just goes to show you, like, even with experienced people in the game who look at bigger guys, that's how they perceive us and how they're going to plan for it. So we got to be.
Kind of like the Jeff Lacey effect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of guys
Yeah.
fought Lacey. I mean, the ones that beat him, there's not many, but I mean, yeah, they waited. They waited and they worked and they picked their shots and then they started the fight in the 8th round.
Yeah, I lost a fight like an amateur fight like that. I just let me go right out there, use up all my energy, and then bang. And at the end of the 2nd and 3rd, just pounds on it. And then thank goodness the guy couldn't hit hard enough to put me down. But I was exasperated. There was nothing there.